YouTube, Stella-Jaz, and today we're doing an LTAS video, and pretty much the idea of new and better things prevents happiness, because when you realize that all things in life, society, economy, environment, relationships, are cyclical. Not only are they cyclical, not only are they cycles, but they're all representations of the same exact cycle, the same exact pattern. And that pattern is your internal pattern that attracts the pattern of the events within your life. Your internal pattern mirrors your external pattern. The events that go down in your life are there to expose you to your own internal pattern and make you understand yourself, thereby making the universe more self-conscious because it's becoming more aware of itself. And when you realize that everything in life is based on this internal pattern, this internal pattern is everything, okay? It's your thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, daydreams, subtle hints of, abstract feelings that you don't even understand. It's the whole code, okay? But now let's talk about your own internal fluctuations. Okay, the internal fluctuations within that code affect the external fluctuations outside of that code. Okay, so basically, when you take your internal tides, we all have internal tides, we all fluctuate between, 2 or 3 or maybe 7 states of being that we're in 90% of the time. Okay, that's like our base state of being. And when you change the fluctuations within that state of being, you change the fluctuations that it attracts. You change your internal pattern. But essentially, by making your internal tides harmonious, the external ocean becomes still. And now you can, actually steer and move your ship. You can make some progress. So how do you make these internal fluctuations harmonious? Okay, or how do you make them so that they don't disrupt your activity externally? Okay, basically, I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole huge topic. It has to do with, finding suppressed emotions, healing past trauma, reordering parts of yourself, and rearranging your intentions. It's like a whole thing. But parts work and shadow work. And you can find a video on parts work in the description of this video from Teal1. Shadow work reveals to you your basic code that cannot change. Either like the 9 or 10 or, maybe 50 startup commands for a human. Basically, the things about them that are going to be the way they are from babyhood to adulthood, and it's not going to change, okay? So that's something that's deeply ingrained into them specifically as a person. Shadow work allows you to see what that is, because as we grow up, we get traumas, we learn how to act to make people pleased, and, all sorts of things like that. But as you do shadow work, basically, you're simplifying yourself back down to that base code that doesn't change in the first place. It just gets modified. So you're basically de-altering yourself. That's what shadow work does. It de-alters you. What parts work does is it takes the different parts of your consciousness that might be going in different directions, because now they've been split before. Okay, so with shadow work, you're unifying your mind to see what it really is. With parts work, you're taking the different parts of your mind and redirecting them to where they can all work for you in a direction that fits your goals, whatever you're trying to do. Now, the thing with this internal pattern is that the law of attraction is a mirror. It's the law of mirroring. So whatever, actually, this whole principle used to be taught with the maxim, or the hermetic maxim, as within, so without, as above, so below. Basically, whatever's going on up here in your mind is going to be going on outside also. So if you have a goal and you find yourself completely unable to achieve it, like you're just like failing over and over again at the goal, it's very likely that there's actually internal resistance, that you actually have some emotional or mental resistance to it that you're not aware of subconsciously, or that there's just a small part of your consciousness, which is actually like 25% or something, it's not that small, that's resisting it, and you're just, not aware of it. Now, these little bits of our consciousness, like, 15% of our consciousness, 8% of our consciousness, 20%, 15%, doesn't matter. I think I already said 15%. But basically, those little parts of our consciousness affect our behavior. If those parts of our brain don't want an action to occur, they can put that equal percentage that they are a part of our brain of effort's worth into preventing that action from occurring. Now you're 25% less likely to actually complete that action because you have 25% resistance to it. That's the benefits of part work. Unify the goal. Okay, now parts work and shadow work, but is there any way to unify the goal any more than that? Well, if you're just starting your parts work or shadow work, then don't worry about it, because that's what magic has existed for millennia. Literally thousands of years, that's what magic has been for. Basically, the whole purpose of rituals, meditations, visualizations is to communicate to your subconscious what your goal is and align your subconscious parts to that goal through focus. That's what the rituals do. Okay, so if you're trying to achieve a goal and you need your subconscious more well aligned to it, this is why magic always works whether or not it works, then you can use magic to remove that resistance to your goal. It will help you achieve it much more easily. This is why people find so much success with magic, is because whether or not they're actually powerful enough to create a metaphysical result, okay, using the powers of probability, whether or not they're able to do that, there's still a mental effect going on that's making them better at getting stuff done that, is usually not talked about with magic. So they're not aware of it in the first place. So it sneaks attack by surprise, hook to the back of the head. You can use magic to sidestep parts work temporarily. But as you do magic, you'll actually naturally start to fall into a state of shadow work and parts work, which is also probably part of the reason why magic gets a very bad reputation, because people will start doing magic and they'll have all these mental scars, and then they'll start actually getting powerful, like, oh, I'm changing probability now, there's no fucking way that would happen. Oh, I feel like I'm going insane. Why am I depressed? Why am I so sad right now? And you know, all this shit starts happening. You remember shit from your childhood. Everything gets complicated. And you're like, why? Complexity. I hate this. Okay? And so people drop out of it. And that's probably, I'd say 40% of the reason that magic gets such a bad reputation is because it actually causes shadow work. And I don't know if it causes parts work, but it at least causes shadow work. Because basically after you start using those damaged and traumatized part of your brain starts troubleshooting. It's like, oh, we're not working right. We better figure this out now that we're using this again. We're using this skill. We're using this area of our brain, or we're using this part of our subconscious. It can't just be locked in this eternal state of resistance now because we're doing a goal, so we've obviously got to fix it. Your brain falls into a state of shadow work when you start practicing magic. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell notification icon, and goodbye.